Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. It's actually my first time at CHI, also first time presenting in any academic conference. So my name is Tom. I just finished my BA studies at the IDC Media Innovation Lab in Israel. And I remember when I was a child, it was back in the 90s. Yeah, this is me out there, and was able to preserve some of my golden curly hair. And I remember that my favorite outdoor play activity was playing Capture the Flag with my neighborhood friends. And when I reflect on it, I think about imagination, about adventure, friendship, and thrill. And when I think about it a little bit more, I remember how we used to invent secret languages together in collaboration, how we invented new rules to make the game more exciting. And especially I remember how exhausted we were after a day of playing outside. But today things are quite different. Today children play less outside. And it's also back in research. Today children spend 50% less time outdoors if you compare it to the 1970s. And we as SIGCHI researchers, we know that children love technology. This is why we think that technology may be part of the solution. And this idea is not new. Researchers in this field already studied about the idea of integrating technology into outdoor play activities. So Pervasive Games is a great example. They include mobile devices to take gaming away out of the computer screens and back into the real world. There's even a more recent example. You all know it, the Pokemon Go sensation. So children were out playing with technology outside. But our focus is in a quite different genre. It's called head-up games. And these games usually include hardware devices, and they encourage children to put the interaction in the game itself and not on screens that may compromise outdoor play benefits. So our idea was to create our own hardware device and to actually try to better understand how to integrate technology into outdoor play games without harming the benefits for outdoor play. This is why we created the Scratch Notes. It's our own programmable device that we can, with it, study the effect of technology on outdoor play. So today I'm going to share with you how we created it. I'm going to share about our design process and our metaphors. And I'm going to share with you how we evaluated the effect of technology on outdoor play benefits. So let's start with our inspiration for design. Let's start with our design process. So we got the idea from the Transparent Technology School of Thoughts. So the idea that when you design a technology, it should weave itself into people's natural activities. It should not be invisible, but transparent, meaning it should be designed in the perfect context of use. It should be integrated seamlessly into what people already do. This is why we search for objects that children know how to use. Objects that are abundant in children's play area. Objects that children has clear mental models for how to use. So sticks and stones, they've been around forever and children really know how to use them. So we designed 9 shapes. They were all inspired by stick and stones. We put them on a tray and we asked children, how would you use them in an outdoor play context? How you envision of using them? And the best one was number 9, a stick-shaped metaphor. And we chose it as our leading metaphor for the rest of the high-fidelity prototype process. And we also defined 4 design guidelines that will escort us. So we wanted the design to afford throwing and catching, just like a stick. We wanted the design to afford social interaction, which is a key benefits of outdoor play. We wanted the device to afford intensive usage. And we wanted the device to afford game innovation, so children can invent games using our device, or to integrate their device into the already existing outdoor play. So we focused on 3 aspects for the rest of the high-fidelity process. We focused on casing, designing the right metaphor. We focused on digitally enhance our device with sensing and feedback. And we focused on designing a research platform, so we can upload and implement different digital features and test their effect on outdoor play benefits. So let's start with casing. We 3D printed 10 shapes, and we tested their affordance and functionality. by throwing them hard on the ground and test who is the best. And the best one was number 8. It has 2 rubber caps, an inner and outer case, so children can yank it and also explore the electronics themselves. But it's also very robust. Children can just throw it, nothing will happen. They can really have confidence in the device. This is like how we did it. We really love our CS students at the lab, so we exploit them to do very peculiar things. And we digitally enhanced our device with sensing and feedback. So we added a feather, which is an Arduino clone for control, Bluetooth for communication, acceleration sensor for detecting movement. And we created our own custom LED to project feedback. And we created a research platform, so we can define the right research conditions, and we can implement different apps that could run on the device. So we created our device based on our leading metaphor, and now we wanted to test it with children. So we created a 2-stage study. The first one was to validate that our design really affords outdoor play. And the second stage was to add technology and to test how adding the technology affects outdoor play benefits. So let's start with the first study. We wanted children to play with a non-digital version of the device. So what does it mean? It's the same device in an off mode. We just turn it off. And so we invited 48 children to our university, and we designed a really nice play area with limited constraints. Divided them into 16 groups of 3, and we simply observed children play. And we actually tried to find indications that children play with the device just like a stick, like we intended. And we asked children to play with the device for 10 minutes with no further instructions. So when we looked at the videos, we saw that it actually happened like we hoped. Children were using the device for throwing and catching. Actually, most of the children did. Children were using the device socially. They threw the device exactly at the same time. Children were not afraid to use the device intensively, just like we hoped. And most importantly, children could find ways to integrate the device into their outdoor play activities. They use the device as an extension for their hand in the tag game. So the conclusion from this study is very clear. We were able to validate that our design affords outdoor play. And then we were ready to add technology and to test its effect on outdoor play benefits. So we added sensing and feedback, which are very common in most of digital experiences. So we added 2 types of sensing, and 2 types of sensing events, and 2 types of digital feedback. So we added an accumulated feedback, which is a light turning one after another. Hope you can see it, it's a big hole. And a non-accumulated feedback, which is an animation feedback. It's lights turning one time. And we added 2 types of sensing event, which is the device can detect a shake event and a throw event. And again, the second stage of the study, so same children, the method was the same, only one different thing. Different groups received different combination of sensing and feedback. So, for example, 4 groups received a throw event and accumulated feedback, and a different 4 groups received a shake event and a non-accumulated feedback. And again, we asked children to do a very simple thing, to play with the device for 10 minutes with no further instructions. And then we observed the videos, but we observed videos from both stages of the study. Study 1 with the non-digital device, and study 2 with the digital device. And we actually we coded outdoor play benefits. So what does it mean? We went to the literature and we tried to find measurements that relates to outdoor play benefits. So for example, Parton's collaborative play measure, which is the number of events children play with a mutual goal. Or the OPOS scheme, which is the duration of children being physically active in play. And as far as we know, this is the first study that systematically compared between 2 identical devices, because same children played with the same device with and without technology. And this actually helped us to assess the effect that technology has on outdoor play. And actually, when we analyzed the results, we understood that the effect was not necessarily positive. Because, for example, collaborative play, which was measured by the number of events children play with a mutual goal, was significantly compromised. Same was for creative thinking, which was measured by the number of children inventing new rules. It was also significantly compromised. Not all outdoor play benefits were compromised. Competitive play and physical activity were the same in both conditions. So we understood that the results are complex and very interesting. This is why we wanted to go deeper. And we wanted to compare between all digital conditions. So the more significant results, and the one I'm about to share today, is about the effect of the type of feedback on outdoor play benefits. So let's recall the two types of digital feedback that we implemented. So we had an accumulated feedback, which is light turning one after another. Children called it score feedback. This is why we're using the term here. We never used the term score when we presented it to children. And a non-accumulated feedback, which is a one sequence of light we called animation. And half of the children received score feedback, and the other half received an animation feedback. And when we analyzed the results of the type of feedback, we saw the type of feedback had a significant effect on outdoor play benefits. For example, competitive play. Children were much more competitive when they played with the score feedback. They were deeply engaged in getting all the points that they invented. They consistently compared their status with their friends. However, children in animation groups were much more collaborative. They collaborated toward the mutual goal, and the goal was to trigger multiple animations. I know it sounds surprising, maybe, because children in the score groups did not collaborate to generate more points. But children in the animation groups did collaborate to trigger multiple animations. And the same pattern repeats in the creative thinking measure. Children were much more creative in the animation groups. For example, they invented their own custom version of hide and seek. One child hid a device, while the rest was trying to look for it by looking for the lights of the animation. And physical activity was not affected by the type of feedback, and it was generally the same between the two conditions. So this systematic analysis actually helped us to assess the effect that technology has on outdoor play. And we understood that this effect is quite strong. In our study, it actually compromised, adding technology actually compromised creative thinking and collaborative play. We can attribute it to the fragility of the outdoor play benefits. But when we compared between the two types of feedback, we saw some promising results. We saw that the accumulated feedback influenced children to be more competitive, less creative, and less collaborative. We also saw that the non-accumulated feedback, the animation feedback, influenced children to be more collaborative, more creative, and less competitive. And we attribute it to the open-end nature of the animation feedback. Because children invest and they try to interpret and put their own interpretation and meaning into the feedback. And also I like to emphasize the results from the first study. The transparent technology approach worked. Children were able to integrate a device into their play activities. So today, when we look at the world, we see companies integrating technology into our everyday objects, including outdoor play. For example, this soccer ball, which has sensing and feedback in it. Our advice for companies is to choose the right feedback for the right activity. Accumulated feedback could lead to competition, and non-accumulated feedback will lead to collaboration and creativity. Thank you very much. I would really like to thank my team that is really here in the crowd. So it's Idan, Netta, Andrey, Iddo, Hadas, and Oren. Thank you very much for your help.
Hi, Alyssa Antle from Interactive Arts and Technology at Simon Fraser. So first, congratulations on building something they didn't break. And I really like the way you kind of dug deeper to try and understand more. So in the beginning, you talked about the ageless game of Capture the Flag. And I guess the question I have with these things is, what do they offer over these games that use a very simple physical object that's compostable, that doesn't involve batteries. What does this offer over a game like Capture the Flag?
You mean playing with a non-digital object?
Yeah, like what does it offer over sticks and stones?
You mean, oh, okay. So I'm not sure that, it's a great question actually, and I'm not sure that playing with our object with a non-digital mode is better than playing with just a stick. But I am saying that it's really great as a baseline to test how adding technology into it influence outdoor play benefits. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Hi, Antoine Veil from McGill University. You're saying that when you add a digital score, for example, it changed the way children play. But have you tried like just having, for example, an adult assess like some kind of points and compare? Because you're saying that basically it's technologies that change the way children play, and you just introduce like something that just makes some kind of ranking or score between children, and that can be something that is not technology, in fact.
Yeah, great question as well. We added different kind of technology. We didn't add only score feedback, and we tested them all together. So we saw that different kind of digital condition influence the children activity. It's not necessarily the score.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Eric Paulos, UC Berkeley. Oh, his mic is low. You did a great job on your first talk. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, great work too. The question was, I'm wondering if you could say something more about, I thought a lot about audio and sound, which most of your participants must have maybe commented on, and maybe if we could hear more about what they thought, how sound could be a part of that experience, and particularly if they were more interested in sounds that were either kind of automatically provided or generated versus ones they would record that are more personalized.
It's a great question. We actually already implemented audio and vibration as feedback. We haven't tested them in this study, but you also got these insights from children that they do want to see more sound. They didn't use the word ambient, but I think it's very natural for them to get something which is ambient rather than screen feedback. The reason that we did test screen and digital feedback on LED is because they are already common in many popular products.
All right.